Hi everybody, I hope you're well and in great spirits. Today's video might be about the most badass homeless person ever. So I was talking with a neighbor and, we were talking about the homeless issue, and he was being incredibly empathetic to the difficulties of coming back from having fallen so far back. And, it went all the way back to the pharmaceuticals made a lot of money handing out opioids like they were candy on Halloween. And then when they stopped, people turned to the streets to get that. And that's where a lot of the fentanyl deaths have come in. So a lot of this crisis was started by legit pharmaceutical companies. And he was being empathetic to that. And, we kind of looked at a lot of the issues that people would face in trying to make a comeback from those difficult places. But he also touched on, how society imposes these views on us of what makes us successful, what constitutes the American dream, and how home ownership is a part of that. And, he was questioning it. It was a great conversation. He's like, who said this has to be the American dream? He owns his house, but he said, you're always worrying about the roof or the garage. And the truth is, if you're a homeowner, you can expect to spend 10% of your home's value every month. Not every month, every year. So if your house is $400,000, you might spend $30,000 to $40,000 on maintenance if you need a new roof, a new HVAC, new windows. There's a lot of maintenance in home ownership, and so it keeps you tied to this house, right? And so when we kind of explored that some folks, are out there because they shun these values that are imposed on people, I thought of a guy, I think his name is Diogenes, and this is the baddest homeless dude ever. So Diogenes was a philosopher, and what he would do is he would go up to people and hold a light in their face to be rude. And he would say that he's looking for the last honest man. And in being rude, he was kind of calling out that manners keep people from being honest with one another. And not necessarily that you're rude by being honest, but often it's construed that way. And so he said that society was kind of living this sham of a life according to what society was imposing on itself as the measure of success, as the measure of being a good citizen, etc., etc. And this dude, Diogenes, shunned all that. So he lived in a wine barrel, like El Chavo del Ocho, near the town square. And he would come out and talk to people and hold up the light to them, and then, try to teach them about honesty, and maybe even, Nietzsche's higher man, breaking away from the herd, which I think in some ways is what he was challenging, right? And so he became such a great philosopher that Alexander the Great wanted to meet him. And so he came to the town where Diogenes lived, and at that moment, he wasn't in his wine barrel. He was laying out in the sun and getting some sun. And it's understood he lived from the charity of others. People gave him handouts, and that's what he ate. That's what he lived off of, etc. And when Alexander the Great came to see him, he found him sunbathing, getting some sun. And so Alexander the Great says, hey, I traveled all the way from here to meet you. It's my honor to meet you. Is there anything I can do for you? And Diogenes said, yeah, man, you can get out the way because you're blocking my sun. I'm trying to sunbathe here. And Alexander the Great laughed, and he said, man, if I wasn't Alexander the Great, I would want to be Diogenes. And Diogenes says, you know what? If I wasn't Diogenes, I would want to be Diogenes too. So, this is a guy who probably could have had it all. Alexander the Great came to him and asked, "What can I do for you?" Because he admired his intellect so much. And he was like, "Man, you can get out of my son," because he wasn't. He challenged the notion of titles and all that as well. Um, so that might be the most badass homeless dude ever. Even though I'm sure there's a lot of badass homeless dudes that, for one reason or another, are in that situation. And yeah, that's it. I hope you guys have a good one.